Welcome to Healing the Spirit, a space where we awaken our creativity, deepen our connections, and remember who we are through the lens of astrology, archetypes, and art making. I'm your host, Jonathan Coe. As we enter this contemplative space, I invite us to drop deep into our heart space. Wherever you are, whatever it is that you're doing while you're listening to this episode, I invite you, if you have the ability to do so, perhaps put one hand on your heart or simply allow your attention to rest in your heart space. And on your next inhale, allowing your breath to fill up your heart, fill up your chest without pushing. Allowing the space to naturally begin to expand. Our hearts are really this magnificent, magical vessel of energetic intelligence. Our hearts don't always speak in words, but they always communicate with us. As we relax into this contemplative way of being, give your heart permission to communicate with you. The theme for May is Cultivating Self-Honesty. When we're in touch with the greater flow of life, honesty is an inevitable byproduct. When we feel safe in our own body, when we feel deeply rooted in the interdependence of all of life, honesty is not even something we need to effort. Honesty comes as a byproduct, as an emanation of our spirit. The spontaneous expression of our soul is honest. It is alive. It is deeply present. And it's also in a state of wonder. And if that's the case, we might ask, why is it so challenging sometimes to be honest? It's quite easy to answer on some level. From the time when we were young children, we were taught to shape our expressions. We were taught and given this message that some things are just not okay. Some things are not acceptable in the world that the adults have designed. Crying too loud is not okay. Crying in public is not okay. Expressing our rage beyond a certain point is not encouraged. Certain expressions of boldness are perhaps discouraged if you were born into a female child body. Certain expressions of softness or playfulness are not always appreciated if you were born into a biologically male body. As a child, I remember thinking, wow, look at this world that the adults have created. What's my place in it? So many of us have experienced this feeling of being lost, being these giant spirits in tiny little bodies and being utterly confused. Why are the rules the way they are? And soon enough, we begin internalizing that there's something wrong with how our expressions naturally want to move through us. When we're constantly told to contort this expression, we begin to learn there's a right way to express and there is the wrong way to express. And if we want to survive, if we want to maintain a sense of belonging to the tribe, we need to follow the rules. From that perspective, honest expressions are challenging in a societal structure that doesn't encourage honest expressions, even from children. For many of us, it can even get to a point where it's hard to even know what we're truly feeling, what we truly think, how our bodies are really feeling at any given moment. When we're so used to distorting that expression, the immediacy of our experiences get lost in translation. It's as if our bodies forgot how to spontaneously and naturally respond to reality. We begin to stop ourselves when we truly want to move. We become afraid of the impulses that are moving through us. And that fear can sometimes amplify the intensity of the raw expression itself. The raw expression of feelings like grief or anger or expressions of power, desires, these are pure transmissions. These are innate ways of being. And yet, our relationship to them is often mired in the need to control, the need to ever so slightly shift it so that our neighbors aren't afraid of us, so that we don't signal that there is this wild monster inside of us. The real question here is it really a monster inside of us? Or is it simply the divine expressing through us momentarily? Is it simply spirit moving through us, wanting to move us into a dance that impacts reality and then dissolves away when it's done? It can feel impossible to begin with honest expression of the self when we are under the scrutiny or under the gaze of others. After all, when we're interacting with other people, their energetic response is immediate and is often visceral, even when they try to hide it. Maybe they say nice words or they hold their body so that their true responses are not felt in that moment. We can still feel the repercussion of that energetic response. And that can impact us as well. It can bring up our fears of being ostracized, of being rejected, of receiving the reflection back to us that there's something repulsive about our expressions. What I'm inviting us into for the coming month is a much gentler practice of connecting with, committing to self-honesty, being honest with the self. This truly is the foundation to more authentic self-expression in social settings. Sometimes all it takes for us to shift the dynamic socially is self-acceptance. When we increase our ability to fully accept ourselves and our expressions, on an unconscious nervous system level, we are signaling to the other that this is okay. My expression is pure expression. I don't necessarily need you to respond in any particular way to affirm my inherent okayness. And often, when we're able to tap in to that state, something really interesting starts to happen. If you've ever seen a performance, perhaps a dance performance or a musical performance, when for a brief moment The performer seems to forget that there are boundaries, that there are delineations or separations between themselves as human, the piece that they are playing, and the audience. You know that something really magical starts to happen. To me, that is the flow of life itself. The reason why so many of us crave and really desire and long for the ability to be authentic is because authenticity impacts the field. Authenticity pushes the energetic field out of control, out of this kind of box that it sometimes gets jammed into. And authenticity makes the question of, are we safe, altogether irrelevant. Something starts to move within the field where someone is being really authentic. The correctness of their experience in that moment often makes it such that there's a real energetic level permission for others to also come out and play, bring forth their most authentic self expression. And beginning with self honesty is not easy. And also, the self is really the place where we do have highest amount of power and sovereignty. Being honest with the self is less about needing to perform transparency and more about being willing to be present to the feelings and the sensations that arise when we are in touch with our own wild, throbbing, pulsating self. Being honest with ourselves is the practice of acknowledging and honoring the primary motivations behind our actions. And being honest with the self often starts with awareness. There are obviously multiple layers of what it looks like to be honest with the self, and we're going to speak to that a little bit in this contemplation. But it really does start with awareness. And a great place to start with self honesty is noticing where our actions are not fully matching with our words. Where do you say to someone, "Oh no, that's really okay. That's not a problem." But in the pit of your stomach, you feel yourself wanting to puke. Or where have you maybe said yes to something when your whole body is tensing up and wanting to pull away from the situation? Give yourself permission to become aware of these micro moments. These are really the moments where your body is telling you something. Your body has such deep intelligence. Yes, the body holds trauma, the body holds defense mechanisms, and also the body is telling you we're not quite ready for this yet. We don't want to go there. We don't want to be with this person. And in the beginning, give yourself space to just notice that. Maybe there's nothing to do. Maybe there's nothing to fix. We are so obsessed often with fixing. When we realize something cognitively, the first thing we want to do is just to fix it, right? We want to be a new person, be the best version of ourselves. But what if we just notice where are the imbalances? Where are the places where there's a lack of harmony between what our minds want us to move towards and our body's availability for that? When I'm recording this, throughout the month of May, we have the Sun, Mercury, and Uranus spending most of the month in the sign of Taurus. And Taurus relates to the body. On a very pure, simple level, Taurus is about the isness of the body, the way that the body responds without a lot of pretenses, without a lot of the overcomplications that sometimes the mind gets into. The body speaks in yes or no. We want to do this, we don't want to do this. This feels really good, this feels awful. Uranus has been in Taurus for about 7 years now, so something you might want to feel into is what has shifted in the past 7 years for you? In what ways have you befriended your body or allowed your body to have its say? Listening to the body is really quite simple. The body speaks in simple terms. The body is very straightforward. In my own experience, what has made it challenging to really step into the body's knowing is overcrowding the mind. As modern people, we are such intelligent beings. We have big words for a lot of things. And so it's easy to overcomplicate. And the truth of the body is really simple. Oftentimes, when I feel like I can't hear what my body is trying to tell me, it's often because I've been too busy in the mind. I am taking in way too much information. I'm using too many words or too many fancy words, which certainly I'm guilty of a lot of the times. The practice of being honest with the self begins with returning to the primacy of our body's signals to us. The body speaks in sensations. The body speaks in comfort and discomfort. Perhaps you've noticed that your body feels different when you're in different situations. There may be situations in your life where you feel really amazing in your body. You feel relaxed, you feel resourced, you feel a certain level of flexibility. And there may be other times and other situations or communities in which you feel that kind of constriction, in which you feel like you have to perform, you have to be a certain way, to be accepted, to be seen, to be not misunderstood. So notice that, clock that throughout the month. And the next piece is to reconnect with the heart space. The heart is really such an intelligent organ. The heart is really such an intelligent plane. To me, the heart space is really a plane. It's like an extra layer of existence. And the heart is able to reach far beyond what we can conceptualize. And when it comes to being honest with ourselves with regards to the heart, the question to ask ourselves here is, what do I want? What do I really want? In the past month, I've been noticing that a lot of my sessions with private clients and with some of my students end up in exactly the same place, which is this question of, if you fully trust that somehow you'll find a way, somehow life will send the precise kind of support that you need, what would be your next step? What would you allow yourself to want? And the answer to that question, especially when we tune in from the heart space, can be surprising to us. For many of us, the default is to want a certain prepackaged picture of success, prepackaged picture of what love looks like, or what community looks like, or what security looks like. So, tuning in with the heart begins with recognizing that some of these pictures are really just mental images. There's nothing inherently wrong with them, except that they often make it extra challenging for us to listen to the heart. Listening to the authentic response of the heart can be really challenging compared to just taking one of these pre-packaged pictures off the shelf and running with it. The other day, I was reminded of this. I was trying to explain what I do to someone who don't really know what this kind of work is all about. And I could tell they really didn't get it. And there was a part of me, this more conditioned part of me, that on a nervous system started to get a little bit freaked out. There was a part of me that immediately went into, oh my goodness, is this person now going to think I'm crazy? It's really pervasive. But here's something to consider. I think on a collective level, many of us are shifting away from these known structures. Many of us are shifting away from ways of defining work, ways of defining creativity, ways of defining meaningful relationships that are stale or that are prepackaged. They're actually stale because they're prepackaged and they're not given the opportunity to be examined, right? When there's examination, even when we end up doing what everybody else is doing, we never quite do it the way everybody else is doing it. It's coming from a different place, right? When there's examination, there's personalization. When there's personalization, there is authenticity, and within authenticity, there's liberation. So, yeah, there's something to consider here about how listening to the heart is really a practice. How being honest with what your heart wants is not something that comes naturally for a lot of us. And that's okay. If you begin to tune in to what your heart wants, and then you start realizing that much of what you've built isn't actually what is feeling exciting to your heart, isn't actually what feels nourishing to you on a deeper level, you haven't actually done anything wrong. This is simply an opportunity for you to take a sober look at your life. And perhaps that feeling of misalignment, although the grief is present, is an opportunity for you to consider what other ideas are available. Astrologically, May seems like another turning point for me. We have, as I mentioned earlier, Sun, Uranus, and Mercury mostly spending time in Taurus, making a square to Mars in Leo, making a square to Pluto in Aquarius. So we have this congregation of fixed signs. And whenever we have T squares that are consisting of consisted of fixed signs, that points to the possibility that events and experiences will arise to show us where we are too rigid, where we are sourcing safety from external structures and perspectives that we don't want to change because it gives us a certain emotional anchoring. And as we deepen into the practice of self-honesty, becoming aware of these rigid structures is really good information, because it begins to show us what truly matters to us, right? And when we are able to see through the rigidity into what truly matters, then there's possibility for something else. There's possibility for touching in with a deeper truth that is just as immutable, just as fixed, that gives us actually a deeper sense of security. Somewhere in the middle of the month, we also have Jupiter squaring the nodal axis. Jupiter is in Gemini, and the nodal axis is in Virgo and Pisces. This is an interesting transit. We have this transit every 3 to 4 years. And so it's somewhat rare. And with this specific transit, my sense is there's plenty of opportunities for us to shift into a new timeline. This is a moment, an impasse in the journey, where a new perspective will finally click with a particular context that gives that perspective deeper meaning. And so something that we've kind of thought about for a while, that we've been considering for some time, that perhaps we never really saw as particularly valid, there's an opportunity here for that to begin kicking in, for some momentum to start supporting that perspective. And when I think also about how there is this trine, right, between Venus and Aries, Neptune and Aries, with Mars in Leo, at least by sign, there is an opportunity to make something happen. There is an opportunity to take action. And in moments when we are being invited to take action, self-honesty is the foundation, because when we are honest with ourselves, we can enter into agreements and contracts and projects that are ultimately sustainable. When we enter in for a reason that makes us feel proud for being involved, for putting our energy and our time and our efforts into something, that is the recipe for satisfaction, right? Satisfaction becomes accessible to us when we allow ourselves to really ask the question, what do I want out of this? Why do I want this? The ability to really sit with the honest answer to that, not the answer we think we should want, not the answer that we think makes us a good person, but the answer that is truly arising out of our being. Then we're cooking with gas. Then we get to a space of true agency and sovereignty, because we start to touch in with the reality that we get to choose here, right? When you're aware of what your primary motivation is for being involved in a certain project or in a certain relationship, then you have the advantage of, one, being able to periodically check in with, is that still true? Am I still motivated by the thing? Because the truth is, our motivations change all the time. What was really exciting to us a few weeks ago, a few months ago, may no longer be. And two, that self honesty also helps us be in right relationship with all that's involved, both humans and non humans. And alongside that honesty around what our primary motivations are, we can also touch in with a deeper sense and awareness of what is my capacity? How much energy do I really want to pour into this? Why does this matter to me? And know that the answer doesn't even have to be intellectual. The answer can be a feeling. Perhaps for you, it's more of a sense of conviction. Deep within you, you might feel a kind of heat, a flame that's being stoked. And often, the willingness to touch in with that flame can make all the difference in terms of how that project ends up going for you. All right, that's it from me by way of contemplation. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you would like to go deeper and to work on a one-on-one setting with me, I still have a few spots available for a seasonal reading I'm doing called the Creative Spirit Reading. So far, the readings have been absolutely incredible. I've really loved doing it. The people who are attracted to this container have really enjoyed it based on the feedback I'm receiving. And the creative spirit reading is really a beautiful opportunity for you to check in with how does creativity want to move through you in this chapter of your life. All of us are creative beings, and we all have unique journeys when it comes to our creativity. For some of us, creativity comes through our relationships, the way that we connect with other people. For others, creativity flows through in a more traditionally artistic manner. So, wherever you fall on the spectrum, there's something here for you because we all can learn from listening more deeply to the creative forces, to creative spirit that is guiding us. So if that calls to you, the link will be on the show notes below. And I look forward to working with you. Okay. I'm sending you so much love for the coming month. I hope that this contemplation continues to serve you. And I encourage you to listen back to it as you feel called, as you feel it being needed or necessary for you. And I look forward to the next time that we get together again. Take care.